Hello students, I welcome all of you to this wonderful session of animal tissue. Today we'll be discussing about all the tissue that a complex body have. So we start with the definition of animal tissue. Then what is it? Tissue क्या होता है? It is a group of cells which are similar in origin and are collectively performing a specific function is called a tissue. Cells का वो जो group जिनका origin similar है and they are performing a function collectively, it is what is called tissue. There are mainly four types of tissue in a complex body of an animal. These are connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. So today we'll be discussing about nervous tissue. So what is nervous tissue? So before start, I would like to tell you that this tissue, it is an excitable tissue. And what does excitable mean? It means that when we give stimulus to the tissue, it responds. And then what does this stimulation mean? It is any chemical, physical, and mechanical change in the external environment. So we start with nervous tissue. Nervous or the nerve tissue is the main tissue of our nervous system, as we all know that. The main function of it is to monitor and regulate the functions of the body. The nervous tissue consists of two cells, and they are neurons and glial cells. Now, what are glial cells? They are the class of neurons which provides protection and nutrients to the neurons of our nervous system. Okay, what are the main function of neurons? They help transmit nerve impulses and also provide nutrients to neurons. Okay, as I earlier discussed. Now, this point is very important as it says that they are specialized for being stimulated to transmit stimulus from one part of the body to another. So their specialization is to transmit stimulus from one part of the body to another. And now I think you may have understood that what exactly stimulation is. So I think we should proceed. तो अब हम देखते हैं structure of nervous tissue. It is made up of nerve cells, very common, all of which consist an axon. Now, what are axons? Axons are long stem-like projection emerging out of the cell body of a neuron. So, those who are new here and those who are new to this biology session, I would like to tell you that this long process which is emerging out of the cell body, it is considered as axons. Not these yellow structures, they are Schwann cells, and we will be discussing about it later. So these are stem-like projection emerging out of the cell body, responsible for communicating with other cells called the target cells, the other neurons it is talking about. It is not one or two cells, it is a group of neurons. That's why we call it a tissue. So this is a structure of neuron. वैसे ज़रूरी नहीं है कि सारे न्यूरॉन्स ऐसे ही हो. There is a class of neurons which I have told you earlier which is termed as. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि सारे न्यूरॉन्स दिखने में ऐसे हो. There are a class of neurons which are termed as neurites. They have axons, but it is very hard to distinguish it from those dendrites. Okay, this small processes which are emerging out of the cell body. Okay, this part of the neuron, it is called what? It is cell body. And this green structure, it is a nucleus of it, and it has many other organelles as well. And these processes, they are called axon terminals, and this yellow structure, these are Schwann cells. And Schwann cells is a type of glial cells. They are forming myelin sheath around the axons. What is myelin sheath? Myelin sheath is made up of lipids, and it acts as an insulator. And the neurons which have myelin sheath around their axons, they are called myelinated neurons. So I hope this structure is very clear to you, and this little space between these two adjacent Schwann cells, it is called node of Ranvier. Now, functions of axons. तो मेन फंक्शंस क्या है एक्सॉन्स का? मेन फंक्शन इज इम्पल्स ट्रांसमिशन. इम्पल्सेस का ट्रांसमिशन उनका मेन फंक्शन है. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ अदर सब्सटेंसेस एज वेल. न्यूरॉन्स सिर्फ इम्पल्सेस को ट्रांसमिट नहीं करते, There are many other substances which they transmit, and these are proteins, hormones. There are some virus as well. Now there are two type of transportation in an exon, and which are anterograde and retrograde. Anterograde transportation is the transportation of substances from the cell body to the exon endings, and the example will include protein and hormones. And we all know that neurons, they also need nutrition and hormones to perform their functions. And the retrograde transportation is the transportation of substances from the exon endings to the cell body, and the example which will include the rabies virus, which spread from the saliva of dog or any animal, etc. Okay, so the main part is the cell body, which contains the nucleus, cytoplasm and other cell organelles. सेल बॉडी में माइटोकॉन्ड्रियाज भी होते हैं, न्यूक्लियस भी होता है, एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम जिसे ईआर कहते हैं हम शॉर्ट में, वो भी होती है. These extensions which are emerging out of the cell body, as I have told you earlier, they are called dendrites. So here we see that the cell body, they also contains Nissel's granules. Granules are also known as tigroid body. Now this is a very important term, I think you should remember it. Which synthesize, okay, so what is the main function of Nissel's granule? They synthesize an enzyme which help in the formation of neurotransmitters. What are neurotransmitters? They are chemical which help in the transmission of impulses. Example of neurotransmitter will include dopamine, and there are many of them. Nissel's granules. Okay, so I would like to tell you that we have heard that term many times, that the gray matter of the brain or spinal cord. Now, why it is gray? The presence of Nissl granule, it provides the gray shade to the gray matter of the brain and spinal cord. Okay, there it is. The presence of Nissel's granule provide gray shade to the gray matter of the brain and spinal cord. Now, dendrites. Dendrite is a highly branched processes responsible for receiving information from other neurons and synapses. Synapses are specialized points of contact between two neurons. न्यूरॉन्स जिससे इम्पल्सेस बाहर निकलती है उसे कहते हैं प्री साइनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन्स. अब वो न्यूरॉन्स जो जो इम्पल्सेस को रिसीव करता है, इट इज़ कॉल्ड पोस्ट साइनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन. जो इम्पल्सेस है वो वेसिकल्स के ज़रिए से बाहर निकलती है, और जो सरफेस होता है पोस्ट साइनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन्स का, उनसे वो जाकर अटैच हो जाती है, एंड दिस साइकिल कीप्स गोइंग ऑन एक्सेट्रा. Information of other neurons is provided by dendrite which connect to its cell body. We can clearly see this on this structure here. All these processes, they are attached to the cell body. Now, a few important points about neurons. एक चीज़ आपने ध्यान रखनी है कि न्यूरॉन्स कभी डिवाइड नहीं करते, except two types of neurons. These are neuroglial cells and memory neurons. जो ब्रेन में ट्यूमर बनते हैं, they are formed by the uncontrolled division of neuroglial cells. Neoplasm जिसे हम कहते हैं, they are formed by the uncontrolled division of neuroglial cells. They are not formed by the division of neurons. Neurons never divide. Neurons are very sensitive to bilirubin and biliverdin pigments. Now, what are these pigments? These are pigments produced by the destruction of RBCs, and these are very fatal for our kidneys. The excess of these pigments can damage our kidneys and cause our death. Neurons are the longest cells in the body. They can be up to 1 meter long. The brain tumors are the result of uncontrolled division of neuroglial cells. Now, what are glial cells then? It is a class of cells in the brain and spinal cord that form a supporting structure for neurons and provide them with insulation. Now, there are many kinds of glial cells which include oligodendrocytes, microglial cells, ependymal cells, astrocyte and Schall cells. Now, these are very technical terms, so try to remember all of them. Schwann cells. What are Schwann cells? Schwann cells are known as neurolemocyte. Now, this is the other term for Schwann cells. which form myelin sheath around the neurons of PNS. Myelin sheath is also called as medullary sheath or neurolemma, we can say that. These cells are made up of lipid and act as an insulator. The myelin sheath are also known as neurolemma or medullary sheath. Neurons which have myelin sheath are called myelinated neurons. Impulse travel faster in myelinated neurons. Now, why impulse travel faster in myelinated neuron? Because of saltatory conduction. Now, what is it? I will tell you. And now here it is an other type of neuroglial cells, astrocyte. These are the largest neuroglial cells, keeping that in mind. And these are most numerous also, and these appear as star-shaped, and these form blood-brain barriers. Now, what are blood-brain barriers? These are selective barriers that act as a bridge and allow the entrance of the substances. Now, oligodendrocytes, these form myelin sheath around the neuron of PNS. सॉरी CNS. नाउ एक चीज़ हमें ध्यान में रखनी है कि जो शॉन सेल्स है वो सिर्फ उन्हीं न्यूरॉन्स के एक्सॉन्स पर माइलिन शीथ फॉर्म करती है जो PNS के होते हैं, यानी पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम। लेकिन ओलिगोडेंड्रोसाइट्स ये सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम्स के जो न्यूरॉन्स हैं ये उन्हीं के एक्सॉन्स पर माइलिन शीथ फॉर्म करते हैं। सो यूजुअली अ शॉन सेल्स फॉर माइलिन शीथ अराउंड वन न्यूरॉन्स ओनली। एक सेल्स शॉन सेल्स वो सिर्फ एक ही न्यूरॉन के एक्सॉन पर माइलिन शीथ बनाता है। लेकिन ओलिगोडेंड्रोसाइट इट फॉर्म माइलिन शीथ अराउंड 50 neurons at one time. And it is a very important thing that you should keep in your mind. Now, microglial cells, these are immune cells of the brain, and these are phagocytic. Phagocytic means the nature in which the cells they destroy foreign organisms. Now, where do they originate from? They originate from embryonic monocyte precursor, and they now this is very important that they invade the early stage of the development. यानी जो एम्ब्रियो की अर्ली स्टेज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट होती है ये उसी समय बनना शुरू हो जाते हैं. And these consist elongated nuclei and these are ramified. Okay, so the term ramified it means branched. Ependymal cells. What are ependymal cells? These are cells which form lining of ventricles of brain and central canal of the spinal cord. These cells bear cilia on their surfaces. As you can see, these small processes which are emerging out of these cells, they are called cilia. Now each cells have around 25 cilia on their apical surface. We can only see a few of them here, but they actually contain 25 cilia on their surfaces, and there can be more of them. The main function of these cells is to contribute to the flow of CSF, and they also help in the formation of CSF. Sorry. Now, what is the meaning of CSF? It is cerebrospinal fluid which is present in the brain. Now, the characteristic of nervous tissue. ये चीज़ें आपको याद रखनी है कि nervous tissue makes up for the CNS and PNS of the nervous system. They contains two distinct cells, neuroglials and neurons. It consists of dendrite, cell body, axons and nerve endings, which are also called as axon terminals. Neurons secrete chemical neurotransmitters which are responsible for stimulating other neurons as a result of stimuli. We can also say that stimulus, any external change. Presence of specialization at axon terminals called synapses. Synapses, they are joint between two neurons. Nerve cells live long, cannot be divided and replaced except memory cells, as I have discussed it earlier. So that is it for today. I hope you have learned something new from this class, and in the upcoming lecture we will be discussing about the types of neurons on the basis of their functions on and their structure also. So all you have to do is just subscribe to our channel and stay connected with us. Have a good day.